Tonight is on an island. It's about time I'm waking up. I told you wasn't with me waking up. Now you feel
Hello and welcome back to a brand new video. So today's video I'm going to be talking about controlling your emotions. This is a very requested video. I got a lot of people on TikTok asking me, I made a video about how my life has significantly been better and been more peaceful since I've learned to control my emotions. And a lot of people were asking me, well, like, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? And so I'm going to give you guys some tips that worked for me and some things that I did that really helped me out when it came to controlling my emotions. Now, there are some things I want to point out before I get into this video. So one of the very first things I want to say is that controlling your emotions and not having emotions are two very different things. So I'm still a very emotional person. I still go and experience a multitude of emotions throughout my day. Like, I'm really a very empathetic person, and I feel like that's a superpower for me almost, because we do live in a world and in a society where we have been really kind of like disconnected from people and just desensitized from a lot of the things that people experience and go through. We live in a very individualized society as well now, and so me being very empathetic, for me, it's something that I feel like is very beautiful, because I can really just meet a person, a random person today, and they can tell me their life story, and I will literally feel what they feel and understand what they're going through and empathize and sympathize with them. And I feel like as a woman, that's like very important for us to have. That's how, we were able to, raise kids right and just have the relationships that we have. So I don't ever want to make it seem like controlling your emotions means not having emotions, because I feel like having emotions is very important and I never want to take that away. I feel like acting as if you don't have emotions or not being emotional because you have no empathy, that's really like a separate issue. That's not the same as just learning to control. So I still go through emotions. I still experience a lot of things throughout my day. Like, I can still cry very easily, but just the biggest difference is that I just don't react to them like I used to. I take my time. I give myself space to actually feel what I feel, and I move on from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's normal to feel certain feelings or to, go through things. Like, that's normal for humans, but I just don't react to them in the same way that I used to. Another thing I want to say is that I'm not a therapist, okay? I'm not like any of those things. So I'm going to give you guys things that worked for me and specifically will help me out. So what helped me out might not help you out. You might have gone through, you might have a lot more trauma than I do. We all go through different life experiences. I've been through a lot of stuff, but there's people who have been through more than me. So whatever works for me worked for me. Whatever works for you might not be what works for me. You might need some deeper type of professional help. You might actually need to like do different types of things. That is up to you to figure out. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone is their own individual person. So you need to really sit down and figure out, is this something that can really help me out? There might be things that I say that can help you out. There might be things that I say that aren't going to help you. So just keep that in mind. And if you need professional help, don't be afraid to get that help. One of the very first things that helped me a lot with controlling my emotions was journaling. And I know that may seem like such a simple thing, but when I tell you, this has been a really big game changer. And I've talked about journaling in a few of my other videos, but journaling has really just helped me out so much. I used to just be the kind of person that would bottle a lot of the stuff that I was going through inside, or I would find very unhealthy ways of releasing whatever it was that I was feeling. So I was the kind of person that would post all my business on the internet, like literally, like, you know how those girls will like go through breakups and stuff like that, and you'll go to her Instagram story and like all her Instagram story is like breakup quotes and all those sad girl quotes. That was me, okay? Anytime you know, I was going through something. Here I go, I find the perfect quote and I'm posting it on the internet, so now the whole world knows that I'm going through something. That's just how I used to be. So what even made me get into journaling was last year I went through like a really bad breakup or whatever, and I kind of felt very alone, and the things that I was going through was a lot at once, and I didn't feel really comfortable like calling anyone and like telling anyone my business at that time. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna journal. So I had started journaling a few times a day because your girl was going through it. Okay, so I was journaling a few times a day, and it kind of just became a habit, and now it's become a very healthy way for me to release whatever it is that I'm going through. So every morning, you know, I like to reflect on like the day before, and I like to think about like what I want my day to look like now. And so that just has really helped me just be more, I guess, kind of peaceful, being able to write whatever you want and not be judged, you know what I'm saying? Not have people criticize you or whatever the case may be. It has been better for me, in my opinion. Also, like, you can really just say whatever you want to say and not be worried about, you know, offending anybody or like saying the wrong thing, because it's like your journal. Like, no one is going to open it up and read it. It's literally your personal diary to say whatever you want to say. So you can say the most outlandish thing possible, and like no one is gonna say anything because it's your journal. So I definitely think that everyone should consider you know, journaling and just looking into that. It's just been a really healthy way for me to release what I was feeling. So the second thing that I did was to do a lot of shadow work. So this kind of came about as I was journaling, because when I first started journaling, I was just writing down what I wanted, and there is no right or wrong way to journal. But when I was first journaling, I was just writing down like my thoughts, my feelings, whatever. And after a while, like, you know, I was like, I didn't really have anything to write, or like I would get bored. I'd be like, I don't really feel like this is being productive anymore. So then I was looking up like journal prompts and like stuff like that, and I came across shadow work. Shadow work deals a lot with asking yourself those really, really deep questions that you probably haven't really thought about. And the reason why I feel like this is so important in trying to control your emotions is because, especially like me, I'm 29, right? And every single human being on this earth, we all go through so much stuff in our lifetime. And a lot of the times, the things that we go through as human beings, the traumatic stuff, the things that we like to put in the back burner, we don't really understand how bad those situations and those things can actually affect us in adulthood. And it wasn't until I started doing shadow work and like working towards healing my inner child and all of the stuff that I was doing in journaling that I realized, like, oh, I act this way and I feel this, a lot of these feelings in my relationships because of what I experienced as a child. So I'm gonna give you guys an example. So for me personally, I went through a lot of trauma as a kid. My mother passed when I was 11 years old of breast cancer, and it was a really traumatic thing to experience. You know, as a child, you know, I was the oldest of three, so there was that, you know, having to feel like I had to be a very strong person at 11 years old was a lot. Having to see my mother go through those things was a lot, especially because I was very, very close to her. You know, everyone in my family was greatly affected by my mother getting sick and passing away. And I had carried so much trauma from that experience into my adult years. And I didn't realize how much I was actually carrying that in my romantic relationships. So one thing that I noticed and I realized through this shadow work and through journaling was that when I'm in a relationship with somebody, I get really anxious when they don't instantly like text me back. Like, I'll call them. If I call them and I'll, you know, they don't pick up, I won't say anything or whatever. But if it continues, like if it goes like an hour passes and I see that they haven't called me back yet, or they haven't texted me back, or they haven't reached out yet, I start to get very anxious and I start to think the worst. And I start to think, did they get into an accident? Did something happen to them? Did this happen? Like, I start thinking some of the worst things possible, and I realize I feel that way because of when my mother was sick. I was always very anxious because when I wouldn't hear from my parents, I wouldn't hear from my dad, I wouldn't hear from my mom, I would instantly think, oh, she's gone. I was always in my mind, oh, she's gone, oh, she's gone. And so I always carry that into my relationships, not only just romantic, but like my regular relationships with my friends, with my family. I've always been that way. And I realized through journaling and through shadow work and through healing my inner child, this is where this comes from. And so now that I know where this comes from, I know when I'm overreacting and I know when I'm not. You know what I'm saying? When you are able to pinpoint your traumas and when you're able to pinpoint why certain things trigger you, it makes things a lot smoother, and you can really start to like categorize things like, okay, am I really feeling a certain type of way because this person actually did something? Or do I just feel this way because of something that I have not addressed? And you don't really realize how much, like I said, you're carrying and how much trauma you need to address until you start doing shadow work. Shadow work and all of that type of work is going to really, and inner work, shadow work, I feel like that they're both like the same thing. They're just going to really require you to really answer very uncomfortable questions and just really look deep inside of yourself. And that's super important because, like I said, we go through so much as adults. We experience so much. And a lot of the things that we experience, we don't really sit back and think about the greater effect of things. And doing this is going to help you. You can make peace with a lot of things. You can forgive yourself for a lot of things as well. And you just start feeling more at peace. You forgive yourself for a lot. You understand why you are the way you are. Things start to make a lot more sense then. A lot of the prompts that I got for shadow work as well, I got it through Pinterest and through Google. So I didn't even have to buy anything. I didn't have to pay for a therapist. I didn't have to do all that. Now, I do think that if you feel like you need the extra support, definitely get a therapist or, someone that you feel comfortable talking to about these things. I feel like that's super important. I did have a therapist for a little bit in the beginning when I was going through my healing journey. So I do think that a therapist can be very, very good. But me personally, a lot of the stuff that I figured out and a lot of these things that I was able to uncover about myself, I've done it on my own. I didn't have a therapist or anything like that. But again, maybe you handle traumas differently. So if you need the extra support, definitely go get it. But like I said, a lot of these prompts, a lot of these questions, you can just go on Pinterest, type in whatever you want, inner child healing, journal prompts to heal your self-esteem, inner work journal prompts, whatever it is. There's prompts, journal prompts, free info, free everything, resources on Pinterest, on the internet, literally plastered all over. So just go and look for it yourself. Look for specific things that you want to heal and work on it. Like, I literally found prompts on anxiousness, on jealousy, on self-esteem, on inner child healing. And that is all the things that I felt like I needed help with. And I found resources on that and I worked on it myself. The next thing that really helps me in controlling my emotions is to pause before I do anything. I've always been a very reactive, impulsive person. Even as a kid, I was always very impulsive, and I'm Sagittarius too. So I'm one of those people that's like, do now, think later. But as an adult, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? But I used to be the girl who was like, breaking into homes. He wasn't answering the phone. I was outside windows. That was me. I'm very ashamed to say, but that was me. But that was the old me. That's not me now. But yeah, I have to pause before I do anything because I am a very reactive person. And I will put myself in situations that I know things can go left really quick if I don't stop and think. you don't realize how little and insignificant things actually are until you sit down and pause. A lot of the things that make you upset, a lot of the things that make you mad, a lot of the things that get you out of character, when you really sit back and think about it, it don't even be that serious, y'all. It's really not that serious. And I had to realize that on my own, like, I was really overreacting over the littlest stuff, looking really unhinged and crazy. And I'm sorry, nobody wants to be with somebody that does not look like they have their stuff in control. That is very unattractive, okay? There is nothing more unattractive than seeing a woman who just like cannot control herself and like cannot just keep it cool, calm, and collective. I'm not saying let people play with you. I'm not saying let people disrespect you. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is not everything deserves a reaction. When you give everything that happens to you a reaction, or you need to do something every single time, you just genuinely show people how much power and control they have over you. You don't understand how, now that I pause, and sometimes when people do stuff to me, I'll just be like, okay. I won't even say nothing or do nothing. I'll just be like, okay. I won't react. And the way they start switching stuff around for me after that, because they're like, oh, she don't care, or dang, like this didn't affect her. The way they start trying to switch stuff around because I don't react anymore is really, really crazy. Like I said, you don't really realize how small stuff is until you like calm down. Everything does not deserve a reaction. It is okay to ignore. It is okay to say, screw this. I'm not gonna let this affect me or affect my day. Stop letting other people's actions and control and things control you and control your mood and control what you do, say, think. You have to stop giving people that much power. You have to be able to control yourself. You have to be, especially as an adult, because as an adult, our actions have consequences. And I'm sorry, but there's nobody on this earth that is worth me being dead or in jail for. It's just, to me, it's not worth it. One of the next things as well is to set proper boundaries and like know what your boundaries are and know what your triggers are. You find that through journaling, but one book that I read that was really, really helpful, and I'll link it below, you can get it through Amazon, is called, I think it's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And I came across this book during a time when I realized I don't have any boundaries, okay? So people are doing all this stuff to me and I really can't say nothing because I don't even know what my boundaries are. I don't even know what I'm okay with. I don't know what I'm not okay with. I'm just out here winging it at life. So I came across this book, and the reason I really like this book is because it not only does it talk about setting boundaries in your romantic relationships, it also talks about boundaries with your relationships with your friends, your family, and work. So like our entire lives, we need boundaries with everything and everybody, because if not, you're always gonna feel drained, you're always gonna feel triggered, you're always gonna feel like, you know, you're just pouring into an empty cup at that point. I also really like this book because at the end of each chapter, she has questions for you to answer. And like I said, by the time I was done reading this book, I was able to pinpoint things that I was and was not okay with. Why is this important? It's important to understand what your boundaries are, because then you can start to see which people actually respect you and which people do not respect you, okay? So if you have, let's say, a boundary that's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable when somebody does this to me, and you express it to somebody in your life, and they keep doing it to you, or they keep disrespecting you or doing the thing that you said you're not comfortable with, that's a person you need to cut out your life. Period, point blank. They don't respect you. But if you don't know what your boundary is and you don't know what your trigger is, then how are you going to be able to pinpoint like, hey, this actually I'm not okay with? You need to be firm on what it is that you will accept and what you're not going to accept. There are people who will get close to you and will want to trigger you and upset you because that makes them feel good. There are people like that. You know what I'm saying? There are men who will see a wonderful woman with a great career, beautiful, whatever, and will get with her to try to humble her. We see this all the time. But if you have boundaries and you stand firm on your boundaries and what it is that you want, it's going to be harder for people to play with you because you know what you're going to tolerate and you know what you're not going to tolerate. And you already told this person, like, look, this is not going to fly. And if you do it again, I'm going to have to cut you off. And if they do it again, you got to cut them off. Stop letting people play with y'all, okay? Stop letting people play with you like that. Stand firm on your boundaries. If you don't have boundaries or you don't know what boundaries are or how to set them properly, this book is going to be a game changer for you. I really, really recommend it. It's a really, really good book. And like I said, she has questions and journal prompts for you to answer at the end of each chapter, which I think is really, really helpful. The last tip number 5, is to practice, okay? You have to make this a daily practice in your life. You're not going to get this in a day. You're not going to get this in a week. You're not going to get this in a month. You might not get it in 2 or 3. It's okay. Things like this take time because you are undoing a behavior. And we understand how hard it is to change a habit and a behavior. Like, y'all already know with anything that you want to change in your life, it's hard. Like, if you want to start working out and you've never worked out before, it's very hard to start because, you know what I'm saying? That's not a habit that you're used to. If you want to stop smoking and you've been smoking for years, it's very hard because that's a habit that you now are used to. If you want to change your diet, but you've always eaten junk food or bad food, that's very hard because you're breaking a habit that you're used to. So just like any other habit, this is another habit that's going to take time, effort, and practice on your end to actually get. There are going to be days where you mess up. I still have my days where I'm like, dang, I shouldn't have sent that text, or man, I shouldn't have posted that, or I shouldn't have called him and said that. But you know what? We're human beings and things happen. I give myself grace. I'm still human. And like I said, I'm still an emotional person. Like, at the end of the day, I'm still that kind of person. But controlling your emotions and being in control of your emotions gives you so much power as a human being, gives you so much just control of everything, more peace. You have to understand that you do not control other people. You cannot control other people. The only person you have control over is yourself. That's it. You can't control your family. You can't control your friends. You cannot control the person you're in a relationship with. No matter how much you want to, no matter how much you want them to change, you cannot control them. The only person you have control over is yourself. That's it. And to be in full control of yourself is to have control of your emotions. It is a practice. It is something you're going to have to work on extremely hard if it's something that you really, really want in your life, but it's doable. If I can do it, and I was breaking into people's homes and breaking into people's phones and calling people 50 times back to back to back, if I can do it, you can do it, okay? It's not impossible, but it is a lot of hard work. I've been working on this for over a year now, okay? So I didn't just wake up one day and was like, oh, I know how to control my emotions. No, it was a work. It's an everyday practice. It's an everyday type of thing for me. Every single day, I'm checking myself every single day. I'm making sure I'm not overreacting or doing something that's not beneficial for me. Everything that I do needs to benefit me. So if me acting out of character is not beneficial, which 9 times out of 10 is not, I'm not gonna do it. So just think about that, okay? Be gentle with yourself in this journey. Be, realistic. Understand that you're gonna slip up. It's okay, but get right back on it. And understand you cannot control people. The only person you can control is yourself, and you don't have control of yourself if you do not have control of your emotions. Period, point blank. that is the sign of a person who has real control of their life and over their life is someone who can control their emotions. So I really hope this video helps someone out, and I really hope you guys enjoy my tips. Let me know if you guys have any more questions or any other topics that you want me to talk about. Make sure you are following me on TikTok and Instagram. I will leave my links down below, and I will also have my Amazon storefront link down in the description box with the book Set Boundaries, Find Peace, and another book as well that was on anxious attachment styles, which I feel like is also very important to look into when you're trying to control your emotions. It deals with a lot about your childhood and stuff like that. So I'll link both those books down below so you guys can order them and get started with this journey. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching.